legislation bringing uniform rules and requirements all cities must adhere to. When can we expect House Bill 5 to become law?
Thank you. I didn't know that question sounded like more of a statement, but you know, the issue here is making sure that it's easy to comply. And one of the concerns I've had for a long time with Ohio's tax system that allows every single political subdivision to have their own rules, to have their own taxing authority, and to have their own system of taxes, is you get into situations where literally in many cases the cost of compliance exceeds the tax limit. And so we're going to work to try and take care of that. We sent House Bill 5 to our Finance Committee. I've asked Senator Peterson to lead the effort to try and find solutions inside that bill. There's some great things in there. There's some things that have a little bit of concern. Our local friends in local government have raised some valid concerns that we're going to continue to try and talk to and work through. But it's certainly something we'll take a look at trying to get through this spring if we can. And ultimately, this comes back to the ultimate question. If we're going to allow people to charge people taxes, income taxes, not where they live, but where they work or have a tangential income, then we're always going to have this question of fairness. And that's something we're going to have to take a look at, and House Bill 5 is one of the ways to do that. Thanks.
I was very pleased that we were able to address this. When they first came in to me, obviously House Bill 5 was introduced right at the beginning of the General Assembly. When they came in and talked to me about it, I said, well, that's great. I've heard that one, I think, now for 30-some years. But I tell you what, we can do it. We can do it. We have a governor that will sign legislation that does those kinds of things. We have a Senate that will re-examine the ideas that we have in that bill and make sure that it's sound in all ways. And at the end of the day, boy, does it make a difference for small business all over this state to have a tenable program for collecting that tax. As it is now, we have absolutely unbelievable diversity. Is that a nice word? Diversity. In other words, nobody does the same thing twice. And as a result of that, the bottom line, we have had a burden on a small business. And a lot of people in my county don't go to a neighboring county, Summit or Calgary, to do business because, frankly, there's a burden of doing that. Well, that's ridiculous. What we need to do is have more good traveling businesses that work all over their area and their region. And I've been very pleased. A lot of the cities have understood the challenges that small business faces. They have been supportive of the legislation, and I was very pleased with the vote on the floor of the House. And we had a couple of people who have been very helpful in that area. We have 2 accountants. I'm trying to get another doctor. I just got the one doctor. If we can get enough variety in the membership of the House of Representatives, we can do anything.
I don't talk about what I'm going to do when they're moving stuff through the legislature, so we'll see. And part of that requires leadership on the part of the people who represent local government. But to make it simpler, I know because I used to have to file multiple places myself. But we'll see, Andy. We have to see what reaches might be, whether they even get anything done. It's very hard because there was such a strong opposition to doing it. But this is a case where we are all Ohioans, and when all Ohioans work together, we do well. And when Ohioans fight one another, we don't do so well. By the way, one of the things, I don't want to forget this. The school plan, reform plan that passed Cleveland is a miracle. Now, Bill Batchelder, Niehaus over in the Senate, Keith Faber, when he was in the leadership, we have the mayor, the business community. You want to fix your schools, folks. You want to put children first, you bring us your reform plan. Because the best kind of education reform in a state is when it comes from the bottom up. They tried it in Columbus. They're going to keep at it in Columbus. Youngstown, you're from Youngstown? How many times do we have to say, Youngstown, bring us the school reform plan so children are not left behind? Build a coalition in your communities to fix your schools, and we will help you. Am I right, Bill? Absolutely. Bring us your plans. Bring everybody together, and we will help you. Because this K through 12, you talk about an income divide, income inequality. When the education system doesn't work, that's what creates income inequality. We we got to fix it.
I was very excited by what happened in the Cleveland plan because in no small part, the teachers' union leadership and the union itself supported those changes. I asked the man one night, we were working in my office, and I said to him, "What did you teach?" He's president of the union. Well, he said, "I taught the blind." That was something. Just think of a guy running a union who had been all of his life helping those less fortunate. And it was amazing. The whole thing was absolutely amazing. I had one wonderful businessman up there who asked me if we could finish it that same day, Joe. And I said to him, well, why would we finish it the same day? We've got a lot of drafting here and all. And he looked at me a minute and he said, "I'm 85. He'd seen a lot of Cleveland plans come and go, but never one that had the kind of universal backing.
How important is the shale play to Ohio's economy, both in eastern Ohio and across the state? And you touched briefly on it, but I think it's a topic worth bringing back up for everybody.
It's absolutely essential. It is one of the bright, shining lights that's going to make Ohio transitional from the national economy and the state's economy and Ohio's future. I had the pleasure of having dinner with one of the gentlemen running one of the major companies that's doing this exploration. And he made a very interesting observation. They are so excited about the promise of Ohio. They're selling off assets and leases in other states to expand and grow their operation in Ohio. And this wasn't a small player. I think it's actually the second largest player in Ohio. They didn't do that by accident. One, they believe Ohio, with the regulatory environment that we've got through ODNR and the other folks who are doing this, has a solid, stable system that means business. And by saying that, they mean that they think that they can get compliance and they don't have the risk of not compliance. But by the same token, they just think the resources are there and that this is something that will benefit Ohio and Ohioans. And so from that perspective, we're now past that infant state and going into the toddler state. And when we get into adolescence, we'll know whether this is a pipe dream or this is the real thing. But right now, it sure looks like the real thing.
I had lunch yesterday with Local 18 and the operating engineers, and I was just fascinated. Of course, they're very grateful that the state has turned around because of the highway construction issues, because we were screwed up, and you've done a great job, Jerry. It was the support of the government. But these men are out also building cement platforms, drilling rigs, and so forth. They're people whose skills didn't start at that level, but they're going to that level. And that's a very fantastic union and does a lot of good for a lot of people. And I was very pleased to hear them talk about their relationship with those who provide the capital to do these investments. And Ohio, I think, is going to have a very long run of good energy efforts. And people are going to benefit who you never think about benefiting from an oil well. And I'm very, very pleased to hear that.
This will be the last thing, because we're going to lose our audience here. By the way, before I get into energy, I just want to say that Bob Taft created that third frontier. Now we're trying to reshape it. Anything that you create, anything you create over time has to be reshaped, and we're in the process of doing it. I know Bob supports that, to make sure that the money is going to the people that need it, and there aren't resources being wasted. This is a great tool for us when it comes to new businesses, new